you, Senator Schatz. Thank you all for coming out here. It's very, very interesting. I guess I'm trying to think through and process some of what you've talked about and try to understand if there are any differentiations with the different types of features of social media. So I'm Dr. Twenji. I guess I'd like to just start with you. I mean, like there are, different features here. There's the algorithmic driven feeds, the endless scrolling, social comparison mechanisms. Is there a prioritization there in your mindset of the things that are doing the most harm? I'm just trying to get a sense of the ecosystem there and whether or not I should be thinking about these different features differently or individually, and if that helps at all kind of understand the different impacts that it's making.
So a lot of these things do work together. So it's difficult to separate them completely or to put a number on, which or ranking of which is the worst. But certainly anything that increases the time spent is going to displace time sleeping, time reading a book, exercising, spending time with others in person. So that's going to be the algorithmic feed, for example. Notifications, gamification, any of those features that are going to push time spent are absolutely going to be on that list of harm. But there's many others too. You mentioned social comparison of trying to strive to have that perfect body that everybody seems to have on Instagram, that even a lot of adults say, hey, isn't it striking that everybody is always on vacation on Facebook? And it just seems like everyone else's life is so much more glamorous than cyberbullying, body image issues, unknown adults contacting minors. I mean, one of the reasons I became so convinced that smartphones and social media were behind the adolescent mental health crisis is there are so many possible mechanisms.
Yeah. No, and as you said, I mean, some of it is about time spent, some of it is about potentially inappropriate content or content that can be emotionally disruptive. Others is about interacting with other people online and how that, I see it even within adults of just how it changes the way we might talk to people in person if we get used to talking to somebody that we think is more anonymized or that we have less repercussions back towards us. Dr. Radesky, I mean, I guess I'd like to bring you in here on this. I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I've been hearing some of my colleagues talk about they have kids at other ages. And I'm trying to think through, am I thinking about 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds differently than 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds? Like, just help me kind of understand. Like, we talk about youth, kids writ large, but does it impact the different stages differently?
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the developmental differences. So when you're 8 or 10, you're still in a pretty logical and rule-based part of your cognitive development. Yeah. Sorry. You know some rules. You may not follow your parents' rules.
I see.
But you're more concrete in your thinking. So studies have shown that when 8 or 9 or 10-year-olds start social media accounts, they get over-focused on those concrete like counts or friend counts. So they may want to accumulate lots of friends, not knowing that those friends are child predators. So that is why it's very developmentally inappropriate for kids under 13. A couple of studies show to be on social media. Then you get into those 11 to 13 years where there's so much more drive to connect with peers. You get a little bit more of executive functioning coming on, but not all of it yet, so still not great impulse control. Once you reach more into 16 to 18, you get more abstract thought, and kids can reason a little bit more and have a little bit more self-control. I want to say, though, there's a lot of individual variability. I'm a developmental behavioral pediatrician, so my patients with autism and ADHD often are lagging in these skills. It takes a little bit longer. So if we were thinking of child-centered design that's most appropriate around ages 8 and 10, it probably still relies a lot on storytelling, learning about the world, great movies, great shows, not short-form content that they're just consuming and going on autopilot and, grabbing things in small bites.
I know this hearing is focused on youth, but just help me kind of understand, where does it stop? I mean, a lot of these concerns just perpetuate, right? And I guess I'm trying to distinguish what are we as a committee or as a Senate body should be thinking about when it comes to kids specifically, and what should we be thinking about just writ large within our society? Because like I really do hope that we come up with bipartisan answers to this when it comes to kids, especially as I'm very uncertain what to do as a father coming up next as they get older. But I don't want us to be like, okay, we did our part, right? And like try to help me kind of tease out, like, what are some things should we be specifically focused on for kids? And what are just kind of the broader harms that we should be thinking about writ large when it comes to even adults?
Adults,
past 18?
right. Adults struggle with problematic media use, social media use. I study parents and how their technological interference affects their parent-child interaction. So I would say comprehensive data privacy protections across all Americans, not just kids. And that way we can control what companies are collecting about us and how they're profiling us and how they're using that data. And then having especially chatbot laws into the adulthood also, because there are vulnerable adults who are overusing AI chatbots.
Yeah. Well, look, you all answered a lot of questions from a lot of my colleagues, so thank you so much for your attention to this. I'm sure we'll have more follow-up, but so much here. I hope you all take away and the American people take away, there is real bipartisan focus and interest on this, and I think a lot of urgency as well on the matter. So since I'm the last one here, I just want to thank all the witnesses for their testimonies here. Senators will have until the close of business on January 22nd to submit questions for the record. The witnesses will have until the close of business on February 5th to respond to those questions. So this will conclude today's hearing, and the committee stands adjourned. Thank you.